Hello and welcome to NPTEL's course on communication skills. We are now on a very interesting module, and this module is on interview skills. This has been comprising series of lectures, and this is module number 8 on interview skills, and this is the 7th lecture on interview skills. So far we have discussed some of the fundamental questions that you keep asking about interviews. The misconceptions were cleared in the first lecture, followed by that the definition of interview, the structure of interview, and then next 2 lectures were spent only on how you should be preparing for the interview, and then I started discussing about the keys to success in interviews. Until recently, in the previous lecture and the one that was before that, I was trying to take you actually to the interview room, the venue, and then how you should actually attend the interview, what should you do during the interview. And while talking about that, I give you some tips. In this lecture, I will try to talk about more on what you should do and what you shouldn't do in the interview. And then once you do certain things and ensure that you are almost becoming successful, there are certain things you should follow at the end of it, the way you are closing the interview. So, once you close it, and then there are certain post interview functions, some afterthoughts you should have, the kind of attitude that you should have once you finish the interview. So, these are the things we will be looking at it in this lecture. Now, first overall, I said first speak clearly in the previous lecture. Now, let me add one more aspect of speaking. I would say that speak with sang-froid. So, what is this sang-froid? This is freedom from agitation or excitement of mind. So, if you are able to develop this, the mind is completely at a kind of relaxed state. To put it in another way, it refers to coolness in trying circumstances. How do you develop this? So, one is by mock interviews, but how many mock interviews you attend, then also you will not be able to gain that kind of coolness in trying circumstances, because the real trying circumstance is the one that you actually experience. When that is the fact, you should be looking forward towards attending interviews as many as possible, or putting you in that kind of trying circumstances where your performance is judged just by your speech, spoken abilities. So, coolness in trying circumstances, or to put it in another manner, it refers to calmness in danger or difficulty. So, that coolness indicating that you are not at all disturbed even when they are quizzing you from different corners, and you take it at the appropriate manner with the right attitude and right spirit. So, that will again ensure success in an overall frame of mind, the way the panel members are looking at you. So, you are just creating that you are a cool and calm and level minded person, and you are not the guy who is going to be disturbed just because they are putting you under some pressure. So, keep that in mind. And then there are certain things which you shouldn't do in the interview. What are the things you should never do? Don't chew gum. Chewing gum may be a fashion style or way of throwing attitude, but then chewing gum inside the interview, physically it obstructs your speaking, psychologically it is indicating that you are nervous, attitudinally it is indicating that you are aggressive, overall it is indicating that you are not that concerned about the interview, you are more concerned about chewing, and your mind is tuned towards that, and so on. So, do not chew gum, just avoid it. If you are habituated to that, throw it outside before entering into the hall itself. Then, even if you are a smoker, even if you are offered a cigarette inside, avoid smoking, do not smoke at all. So, you cannot just get inside with half of the cigarette butt and then finish off one puff and then throw it and then get ready for it. So, you can understand that your interview is over just when you go there with that. And then do not make distractions, either deliberately or unknowingly, do not make distractions. Then do not slouch, sit straight and slightly bend towards the panel, that is the best one, but slouching indicates laziness, disinterest and all negative things that go along with body language. Do not ramble, to use an idiom, do not beat around the bush. If you have to tell something, tell it straight. Again, to use another idiom, hit the nail on its head. You do not have to beat around the bush to say something. Rambling just means that. Probably you do not know the answer, or probably you have a long way of answering something which could be answered in a very short and sweet and effective manner. Remember what I said when we were talking about technical writing in terms of email writing. I said that if you cannot express your whole thought in a single paragraph, you will not be express the same thing in writing an essay for 4 pages. The same thing goes with, if you cannot say the same thing in a single sentence, which becomes your thesis statement, you cannot even write a good paragraph. The same thing goes here also. If you cannot answer that first in a single sentence or 2 sentences and then you keep elaborating, no problem. But if you cannot do that, I am sure you will not be able to answer that when you drag it for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. At the end of it, you would have confused the panel members, you yourself might be equally confused, and you may ask that silly embarrassing question like, have I answered your question? Am I right? Okay. Now, this is something that you are supposed to know from your side, whether you have answered it right or not. Fine. Then, do not wear too much perfume or cologne. As I said, it sends negative signal. More than that, there are some members in that interview venue, inside the interview hall, they might be allergic to some pungent smelling cologne. So, if you are the one who is doing it, his immediate signal in the mind is that he may catch a cold, he may start sneezing, he may even run into fever. So, his or her immediate response, even that fight or flight response, is to just literally or figuratively throw you out, send you out of that room, and this just because you used a perfume that is causing allergy to the person. So, that is the most annoying thought in the person's mind. I want to avoid this physically. So, what is the only thing that I can do? I should send this fellow out. So, the person will be very quick or ask a snubbing question or ask a question which you cannot answer and say that is over, you can go. So, take note of this. Safe thing is use very mild one, very gentle one, and if you are sure that there is no foul odor emanating from the body, and then once you take bath you feel that you are okay, even you can avoid going with perfume or cologne. That is the safest bet. Now, how should you answer the questions when you come to the particular questions related to testing your knowledge or asking you to describe something? So, start from the general to the specific. Start from the general and go to the specific. This means give a holistic picture first and then slowly get to the main and important points and assert the keywords. So, you will start with the general statement, it could be the hypothetical statement, it could be the thesis statement, and move to a specific example that will describe the details of a specific skill or experience. In this case, when you are elaborating it, when you are going to the specific point of it, you can use stories or some interesting anecdotes, because these stories and anecdotes about you describe you better than adjectives, which will say, for instance, if you say I am a very hardworking guy, I am very sincere, I am very honest. Now, illustrate a story that shows that you are very honest. I am a very loyal person to the institute. Give a story, give an anecdote. Show the time that you spent extra hours when nobody was there and saved the institution out of some embarrassment or some crisis. Give a small anecdote, that is enough, instead of saying that I am capable of this, that. So, better than adjectives, the actual anecdotes that describe you would tell definitely more about you. Keep that in mind. And even when it comes to your key strengths, have some good interesting stories to talk about it. So, instead of again telling that I am very meticulous, I am punctual, if you have a story to tell how that punctuality saved you or saved your organization, that makes it much more interesting and delightful for the audience to listen to also. There are occasions when you need to volunteer relevant information. It means you should also become smart enough to make the interview members know more details about you, which are much more significant and which are left out otherwise. There are some very important details about you, your career, your experience, which have not been covered up so far in the questions which they have asked, and it looks like they are going to wind up. Now, this is the time when a question is asked and you think that you need to add some additional information, keep talking, do not just stop. Now, rambling is different from this. When you ramble, you are meaningless, you just move like a rudderless boat, but here you have a point to make. So, you keep talking, and when you have especially something relevant to say, keep talking and bring that relevance to that point that you have been discussing. Then, in case of interviews, generally remember this, that talking too much is always better than talking too little. Talking too much in the sense of supplying relevant information, giving added information that makes your point clearer, not rambling, meandering again. So, in that case, instead of thinking that I will be reserved, I will be shy, I will keep to myself, be open, show your extroversial tendencies and then speak more than what is required. So, normally you may be a quiet, calm and reserved person, but interview is not the time to show that aspect of your personality. That is the time you have to speak more, so that they know more about you. And if they have some second thoughts, it is your additional information that will clear or that will nullify that second thought that may go against your selection. You can use some phrases such as, I would also like to inform you, okay, in a very polite manner. So, I would also like to tell something about this. Oh, they will be more keen, they will say, oh, please go ahead, tell us about that. You might also like to know, you can tell them, or you can say, in addition, I would like to inform you, in addition, I would like to add to this. So, this makes them feel that, okay, you are sensible, you answered it, and then you also think that something is much more relevant, that is why you are adding it. Whenever you make a reference about you, make positive self-reference. In the context of an IIT student, for instance, 5-pointer, 4-pointer, 3-point. Okay. Now, although 3-point is not even passing, just for the sake, in case you have got it and then there is a campus interview, you do not have to just let the cat out of the bag, even if before they ask you. You do not have to say, or rather you avoid phrases like, I only have a 3.1 GPA or I am just a 5-pointer. No, as I said, heavens will not fall if you are just a 5-pointer. They just want to know. There are people who have not even reached IIT, who have not even reached that level of getting 5 point. You have got it. Now, how would you still distinguish yourself from those people? And there are others who have got 10 points, fine, but then is there something that distinguishes you from those people? if there is something you highlight, and definitely there will be something, it is your negativity, your underestimation about yourself that will make you think that no, I am no good. So, do not project you with the negative self reference, always let it be a positive self reference. Only discuss your strengths, do not offer a weakness unless directly asked for one. As I said, there are companies nowadays in the CV itself, they are asking you to mention about your merits and limitations. Now, they know the limitations already, they have it in hand. So, in some case they do not even want to elaborate on those limitations, in some they want you to explain. Now, if they do not ask you to explain, you do not volunteer information to explain the negativity in terms of limitation. You talk only about the strengths, you highlight more on it. Then, in case you are giving specific examples, you will not feel as though you are bragging. I keep telling that you give examples from your experience, from your life, anecdotes from your work experience. Now, that does not mean there that you are bragging, okay, you are blowing your own trumpet. Interview is one aspect of your life where you are allowed to brag. So, you do not have to think that, oh, I am saying so many things about me, so I should be modest, so I should not be sounding that I am boastful. Now, with all politeness, if you can be little boastful, that is also accepted. Only do not appear to be aggressive, do not appear that I am the best. You can say I am one of the best that you can get, and right now I am the most appropriate one because of these reasons. Yeah, I know in terms of qualification there are so many others, but look at what I have done. So, you brag about that, say something more about that, highlight it, little bit exaggeration in terms of narration. So, these are all accepted. So, do not hesitate to brag about your achievements sometimes. Interview is the occasion where you are even allowed to blow your own trumpet with politeness, not sounding that you are rude and aggressive. If you are able to do that with all courteous manners possible, you will be still accepted. And then generally, as far as possible, speak in the first person. I am proud of the work I did there. Instead of saying, we all do good work in that organization, we are all selected because we are all qualified, rather than saying that I am selected because of my merit. In an Indian context, you know that there are institutions and institutions, firms and organizations where influence, sometimes even certain amount of money can also help you get the job, and there are other institutions where no money, no influence, no push can help you except your merit. If you know that the institution goes by merit and if you stand for it, you can vouchsafe that before the panel members and you can tell them, look, I was there, I am there just because of that merit. Instead of saying all of us who get in there are there because of their merit. So, that is something known to everybody, but highlight it in terms of your personal reference. So, use that I, saying that I am proud of that, I am proud of being there. And another thing that goes with that is use of active verbs. Use active verbs, the action verbs, and even in your resume it should be there, even while speaking it should be there. So, you should say I initiated, I coordinated, I designed, I facilitated, I motivated, I generated, rather than I helped with, I worked with, we did, we contributed. So, use active verbs along with your personal reference. So, that again gathers strength to your presentation. Use transitional statements, going from one idea to another idea, indicate them that you are using transitional statements, especially if you are moving from an area of weakness to one of strength. You may use even contrastive transitional statements. So, you can say that, yeah, it is like this, I have this weakness, But on the other hand, nonetheless, nevertheless, although I said this, I also have this. So, give that kind of transitional movement, so that they understand, or if you are adding something, you can use other connective likes in addition to this, furthermore, further, moreover. Now, this moreover is indicating to them that okay, you have said something, you just want to add, and then you are now moving towards another idea, but you are just connecting it. So, use transitional statements. You can use transitional statements sometimes even by giving sequence. So, you may say that let me talk about 5 points, firstly, secondly, now coming to the third point. So, you are giving that transition. You can give the transition just in terms of chronological sequence also. So, let me describe how the idea was mooted in this area in the past 3 decades. So, in 80s it started like this, and then you keep explaining, coming to the 90s and coming to the present up to the present decade. So, now you are just giving a transition. So, this will help them to follow what you are trying to tell. In case you are asked about a skill or experience you do not have, respond truthfully, but also add how you can overcome this lack of experience. So, these days almost everybody knows something about computer, but then if you are trained in a particular manner, and then let us say you do not know Java, you do not have to say, yeah, I know something about it. No, you just say that I am not aware, I have not done any course, but then just I came to know that this is also going to be a very important thing that I should know in my job. So, what I have done, I have just registered for a new course, and in the meanwhile I am reading books from a friend who has done a course already, and he is also giving me some practical tips, and then we meet on the weekends, and he is also giving a sort of training informally, and I am just trying to gather some information about this. Now, it shows that although you do not know something, you have the initiative to learn it, which is much more important than not knowing something. So, not knowing something, when you are likely to get a negative point, the fact that you have taken some initiative to know it, so will give you some positive point, and it will neutralize the situation. So, if you do not know, or if they are asking you, quizzing you on some skill or experience which you have not gathered, so be honest about it, but at the same time you show some kind of keenness to know it, or if you have taken an initiative, so just explain that initiative. Now, once you have done this much, now the concluding part, the end of the interview. At the end of the interview, have some questions prepared about the position and the organization. This is your time at the end. In fact, it will be thrown open to you. They may say very clearly, they may say that, okay gentlemen, we have asked all that we wanted to ask about you, about your experience and all that. We would like to know whether you have some questions, or they can simply ask you. So, before we conclude, do you have any questions, any doubts or clarifications? Or they may just pause for a minute, and even if they do not ask, you can volunteer and then take your chance and ask them, excuse me sir, may I ask something about this? I would like to know something about this project. Go ahead. Okay. Now, remember, in the preparation itself, I told you that you should be ready at this stage to shoot them with your questions, nevertheless politely, responsibly, and indicating that you are a mature person, and then you are just ready to take charge once they give the job to you. Now, questions, what kind of questions? It can be seeking further clarification about the position. So, as I said, if you are appointing me in this position, so Is it a permanent post or a temporary post? Is there a bond related to that or not? So, you can keep asking these kind of questions. How many years I will be on this position? When will I become eligible for applying for the next position? Or what are the norms for promotion? Will I be promoted automatically based on the number of years I gain experience, and so on. Then job responsibilities. What am I supposed to do? And then whom should I report? How many people should I report? And in what form should I report? What time should I come? In some organizations, you can just drop in any time and it is a target based one. In some other organizations, it is not like dropping in any time, it will be 9 to 5 literally. And in some organizations, there will be punch card. So, you punch it when you are entering. If you punch at 9:1 and then if you punch it 3 days at 9:1, 9:2, 9:3, 1 CL will be cut. So, if you are generally the person who will go very late to the office, you better know about these things. Then you can also ask about projects, you can also ask about the travel that the job will involve. How often should you travel, where should you travel, how much notice will be given to you. So, these are the questions you can ask. You can also seek further clarification on the department, the section as such. Questions like goals of that department. So, what are their objectives? Do they have a vision, and would you like to you can say you would like to go through that vision if they have a copy of it. Their career paths, and then the training that they offer. There are some companies, they believe in very intense and rigorous training, including getting up early in the morning, going for some sports activity, doing some yoga and all that, apart from gaining some technical prowess. Now, in that case, you need to know what kind of training they give, how often they give, and where do they give. What kind of thing is expected from you? Do they give a certificate at the end of it, or is it just mere attending that will give you something? So, these are things you can ask. You can also seek clarification about the plans, the expansion plan, the direction of the organization itself. And in case they never said anything about salary, you can even politely ask about it, especially if you think that this is an organization that exploits people. You should be very careful about it, and you can get it spelled out. Whatever salary it could be, but you can just get that mentioned very clearly. You can even tell them to make it clear in terms of perks and other things. There are some companies that will give you something on paper as salary and something as perks, and sometimes even amount of money that is not accounted in the form of actual salary. Is that acceptable to you? Or if you have problem, you should tell them that no, I cannot take this kind of thing, include everything in the salary. If they say that no, let us say I will give you 40,000 extra, but if I have to include, I have to put only 10,000. If you are honest and if you think that is fine, you can say that fine, go ahead, that is fine with me, because I want whatever I earn to be accounted for. So, I want to be honest to the income that I am getting, and I want to be straightforward in terms of the tax that I am paying. I do not want to get anything extra, and so on. So, these things you can clear, and overall once you clear that at the end, quickly let us identify some don'ts and do's that will determine the success of an interview, or to have success in interview, what are the do's and don'ts. First thing, do not expect easy presence. I have probably done the maximum possible for interview skills in the whole of communication course, and even now I feel that I have not done full justice, because there will be so many questions, doubts, which I can add it in frequently asked questions. And then even after listening to everything and following everything that I have been telling, and the book that I am going to ask you to read, you read everything, you have everything at fingertip. Do not expect easy presence. That means, do not expect that you gave a terrific interview, do not expect that the selection follows you. There are so many other things that are going. Okay. So, do not expect that it will be done like that. So, do not underperform, do not overperform, perform exactly, and when you do that, do not expect that you will get the reward immediately. And then whenever you are asked to do something, do not promise what you can't offer. So, in terms of job performance, generally it is said that whenever you are going to give a promise, it is better to under promise and over deliver, not over promise and under deliver. You promise so much, create very good impression, but they keep asking you, when are you going to do this? Oh, you take another 10 days, and finally the quality is not up to their expectation, it is below standard. So, you create very poor impression. But when you are asked to promise giving a stipulated period of time, how many days will you take? You may add an extra day. You can say that I may take about 12 days. Fine, you are given this 12 days and we want you to finish it at the end of this 12th day. 13th day we need the complete report. You say, I can do this. Now, you work very hard to finish it on the 10th day and 11th day you submit it. This means you under promise, but then you are over delivering. This creates a terrific impression. So, this at a later stage. So, in the interview itself you do not over promise, especially which you cannot offer them, and do not accept what you do not need. As I said, they can give you things which you actually do not need, which are sometimes extra. Now, do not be tempted by that and be dragged into doing something which you hate to do in your life. Ultimately, job, if you seek that as a career, is something that is making you develop your personality, something that is going to make you live happily ever after. But if you are going to take something which you do not want, you are asking for pain, and that pain will be a nagging thing in your life throughout, and you will lose your peace of mind, you will lose precious relationships, you become a kind of nervous wreck, you will go to psychologist, you develop all kinds of disease, piles, etc., and so on. Now, it could be easily avoided at the beginning itself, if you are very prudent and discreet. Then do not ask what they can't give you. Now, I remember one interview where I was also part of the interview, and there was a senior most person, and I knew that that person is the one who will be selected because of the person's publications, experience, and in teaching profession it counts a lot, and I thought that I won't get it. But following the tips that I have been telling you, I thought that I should not let that negativity get into my mind, and I did my best. But still I had that nagging doubt that this person deserves better than me, experience, proven record, and should be getting it also, and I was too young for that at that time. But later I was one of the candidates who got selected, and I was surprised to know that this senior most person was actually rejected, and later through confidential sources I came to know what the person asked in terms of salary package was something that the institute can never give even to the director of that institute, okay. And they have some limitations, government stipulated limitations. It is a central government run organization. So, you have a salary, you have a pay package, and accordingly only it can be given. So, he asked something that somebody will get at the retirement age, and he demanded it. So, the institute could not actually give it. So, do not ask which they can't give you. And then remember certain things that they will like in you. Once you remember the don'ts, they like modesty, but not shyness. So, modesty is you use caution to say certain things. you do not want to run into things, but they do not like shy people, especially in interview. They like people who are enthusiastic, people who are energetic, who are dynamic, but they do not want people who show that they are over ambitious, over zealous. That should be avoided. They like people who are self confident, but not the ones who are arrogant. They like the ones who are assertive, but not the ones who are arrogant. So, overall you should focus on assertiveness and not aggressiveness. They appreciate short, precise answer and not the long, convoluted answers and meandering. Now, with this thought, we will conclude this aspect of interview, and then I will just slowly move towards the concluding thoughts in the coming slides. What are the qualities and traits which people do not like in an interview, which would mar the otherwise successful interview? Now, what people do not like is wasting their time. What people do not like is wasting their time by repeating something, and they do not like repetition at all, saying the same thing again and again. And some candidates think that if you do not know the answer, say something again. No, that is another bad way of answering it. If you do not know, say that you do not know, but do not repeat the ideas. Over talking and meandering unnecessarily, unclear explanations. Even after you speak for 15 minutes, the members do not understand what you are trying to say. Unclear explanations. Too many information. You think that you should pack the sentence with lot of information, but too many information is also making them too confused, and they are not sure about what is your answer. Then aggressive approach. You think that you should in your mind hold all the members by their collar and get the interview selection report in favor of you, and you go with that kind of attitude and you just bombard them with your answers. Now, aggressive, thrusting you on them and then thinking that that will create a favorable response. No, they do not like it. And showing false interest, pretending sometimes, especially when they say something, showing false interest and then smiling and pretending things, that should also be avoided. Now, once you are sure of these things, know how you should close it, how you should conclude the interview. The close of an interview does not just mean that interview is over. Okay, when they finish the last word, it does not mean that interview is over. While I said that the first few minutes and seconds are mattering so much in terms of generating a very good impression, you also know that that has set the tone of the interview, the first impression, but the last impression is something that you are cementing in their mind. So, you should just leave with a very emphatic impression, do whatever is possible, but then they should have that kind of impression in the mind. So, what should you do before you leave? Make sure you ask for a business card if they are very formal and they would like to give one. Otherwise, get to know about these people once you are coming out from the receptionist and so on. Make eye contact, smile, thank them. If they are willing to shake hands, or in an Indian context, once again you say namaste and say thanks and then gently come out. If they give the handshake, it is again a firm handshake. Even if you have performed very badly, it is a very firm handshake, showing that till you are sure that you will get it. Okay. And say goodbye to others as you leave. When you come out, even somebody from the organization may be sitting there, you do not rush going out, just look at the other interviewees who are waiting there, just say bye, and if you could divulge some information, do that. You can also encourage them, you can say them, you can the interview was fine and you could do your best and so on, but you say goodbye to others as you leave. Do not make a kind of abrupt exit. To continue with closing the interview, remember at the close you want to achieve 4 objectives. And what are the 4 objectives? First one, make it clear by whatever means that you want the job. Second, set the stage for the next step. If there is an interview that's following this, there are sequential interviews, then set the stage and create a final good impression and get an actual offer by doing that. So, these are the 4 objectives that you should keep in your mind, and overall try to show these 4 objectives by showing your enthusiasm. Keep this quick checklist that I am giving you before as well as after, especially before. This should be in your hand. Do's and don'ts. First, do keep copy of your CV and prepare the copy using your CV and prepare your interview using that CV, and be ready to answer questions which are related to this. Listen carefully, ask for clarification if you do not understand the questions. Think before answering, do not rush into giving answers. Answer the actual question, do not answer things which they have not asked you. Know what you want, be sure about it. Sell yourself, know your key points, know the merits, and don't give up if in trouble. The candidates will just say, I am sorry, I don't know, and they may even ask for permission to leaving the hall. Now, don't give it up. Sometimes under pressure, they may push you to a tight corner, but then you will come out of it, and the best part of the interview may be the last 5 or 10 minutes in which they decide that they select you. So, don't give up in times of trouble. Don't lie, don't boast, don't ramble or waffle, don't talk too much, don't interrupt, don't lose concentration, don't let your mind distract. Okay. As I said, that is the most precious time of your life. Don't lose a fraction of a second also. Make unsupportable claims. So, don't make unsupportable claims. You say something, they say, could you explain it? Could you illustrate that? Could you provide some facts? You are not able to support it. So, don't make such claims. Don't presume that they know you. You are supposed to tell them much about you. Don't presume that they must have read even the CV and they know everything. Even they must have read it very superfluously. You need to highlight certain aspects of your CV, and don't ever be late. So, don't go late. Now, once you have done your best in the interview, let us have some afterthoughts. What should you do after the interview? You are out of the hall, said bye to everybody, you have gone home, came back to your previous institution, you are sitting there quietly. Today, tomorrow, what should you do? Now, first send a follow-up letter within 48 hours of the interview, especially if the format of the organization demands it. You can thank them for the interview that they have given, the chance that they have given, and if you have left out some information which you said that you will be sending them, this is the time to send them with relevant copies and documents. Do an assessment of your performance and work to strengthen any areas of weakness. Always remember, there is no interview where you have answered all the questions 100%. And there is always something that you feel that you missed out. I am aware of candidates who could not answer that simple silly question inside the interview venue. They came out, and just when they closed the door, they came to know the answer. They did not have the courage to get back inside and give the answer. So, there is always this possibility of missing something, near miss of something. So, keep that in mind, assess your performance. If you are at the other side, would you select you? Or if you are not going to select you yourself, what are the things which are acting as stumbling blocks? What should you do to improve upon them? So, identify them, and then without waiting for the results of this interview, some interview they tell you immediately, even at the end of the interview they start asking you, when are you going to join? We are going to give you this offer, what is the salary expected? Some they say wait for an hour, we are going to tell. Some they say come in the evening, take the appointment order. Now, some they say in a week, some a month, some there are 3 months to 6 months, because it goes to so many conduits and nodal points, and then there are so many bureaucracy in between. So, it takes 6 months and then you almost forgot what you did in that interview. So, the best attitude is apply for another job, do not wait for only this one. And then in terms of performance, when you review, ask these questions honestly. What went well? What did I do well? What is it that they would have given me some points? Oh, I answered that question very well, and my witty remark to that was very much appreciated. What went badly? What did I do? Why did I feel that I messed up that situation? Ask yourself honestly. Then, what is it that you wished you had said, but you couldn't say it? Either you forgot or there was no opportunity. And then prepare for the next stage. How better should I do it in the next one? I should avoid these things and I should improve on those things in the next one. Then the second stage also means the post interview functions. You may be given sometimes invitation to the second final round of interviews. In that case, there will be other kinds of assessment center. There will be something called psychometric testing. This is just testing your psychological aptitude. Get ready for that. There will be a panel interview. Previously, you must be interviewed by one person and then there is a group now. So, get ready for that. Get ready also to get that rejection letter or that email saying that they are sorry that they cannot select you. Now, if it is an email or if there is a response code, ID, address, and if you can ask them honestly about their feedback on your performance, and if they could tell you why they rejected it, it is so valuable for you to do well in the next one. So, even if they reject, if they can still give you feedback, they are still doing you a favor to help you. So, if you can get that, it is still valuable. Now, analyzing the interview, why is it that important? Because we actually learn from our mistakes. There is nobody who has become perfect without trying to improve upon the mistakes one has been committing, and then slowly the person has reached that level of near perfection. So, if you do not get an offer from this particular company which you desired so much because of so many reasons, maybe pay package, maybe the place, maybe the reputation, maybe the glamour attached with that company, whatever it may be, if you do not get an offer from this company, be sure that you will succeed another time, and there is always another time and there is always the next time, and be sure that you will succeed in it. So, do not allow rejection to defeat you, and do not become depressed, and do not stop preparing for the next interview, and do not think that I did not get in this one. So, it means that I will not be getting in any other one. So, do not have that kind of impression, and be realistic. What should you have in your mind when I say that you should be realistic? First, understand that interview is not an assessment of personal worth. It is trying to meet your qualifications with specific job demands. So, in case there is rejection, it does not mean that they have rejected you as a person, and you do not have to take it to heart and then think that I will commit suicide, or I will never attend interview, or I will start a new business, I am fed up with this. No, do not let that negativity get into your mind. Many good organizations have made the mistake of rejecting very good candidates, and there are other smart organizations which have actually taken these candidates who have been rejected by those organizations and built up their reputation, and they have won over their competitors. Numerous examples. If you go to management studies, there are numerous examples where people who are rejected from very big organization were selected by their competitor, and then because they selected that candidate, they have won the competition also, they have gone ahead. So, do not worry. So, if they are not selecting you, they are not rejecting you as a person, and you are still strong as a person. Then you can also think like this: if you do not get the job, it is not a major calamity. So, it is not a tsunami that has come and played havoc in your entire life. No, think that the organization was also not lucky to have you. You know that you have the skills, expertise, and your dying loyalty for the organization. You would do anything for it. They did not have you, they are rather unlucky. Why should you think that you are the one who has lost it? So, think it that way also, and then there are always other potential employers around, not only this one, and be certain in a philosophic sense also that the best is yet to come. Sometimes we think that, oh, this is the one that I should have got it, but after some time we realize in due course of time, it is good that I did not get it at that point of time. Had I got it, I would be stuck with that job, just like my friend who got it, and I was envying that guy at that time. Now I have no regrets, and look at that guy living a life full of regrets. He cannot come out of that thing, and I am free. I am enjoying a good life, good salary, good package, happily settled life also. So, be certain the best is yet to come, and often we know it is only when we think that the worst has happened, we know that the best is just awaiting round the corner. We only need to take the next step. So, keep that in mind, and already by this time, if you have the right attitude, you should be thinking about the next interview. Okay. So, you do not wait for the results. So, just push ahead to the next interview, and then those who have read theories of motivation will know the famous hierarchy theory of motivation proposed by Abraham Maslow, and if you apply that theory, you understand that every interview is a new opportunity. Whether you win or lose, whether you are selected or rejected, it is a new opportunity. Then what Maslow talks about in this hierarchy of needs, he says that people are motivated based upon 5 basic classes of needs, and then he puts that in the form of ladder or in the form of a pyramid. At the basic level, we have this physiological need, where we need the basic thing like food, water and shelter. So, for which people will work, people will be motivated to work and get some money. Once that is done, they would feel that they should not be just on road, but they should also have some security and safety. So, they want to have good house, construct good one where they are safe. Apart from that, they also seek love, the emotional support. So, they have to earn money and then give some gifts, make their people, friends happy, so that they are loved. Now, even after that, they do some social things, they build temples, they donate something for cancer fund, they donate something for people who are physically challenged and all that, because they want some esteem in the society, they want to earn a good name. Now, Maslow says they do not stop here, even if they get all these things. As you will find, most of the people get all these things. There is one level ahead, and he says that that is the level of self actualization, that is becoming what you are destined or what you are having the potential to become. Today, when we say Mother Teresa, for instance, we never ask how she was as a kid, what was she. When we say Mahatma Gandhi, we do not ask what did he do when he was 5 years. Okay. We know each of these persons are already actualized what they had to become. Now, Maslow says that this self actualization, he spent so much time, pages describing this, and sometimes it becomes quite complex and philosophic. All that I want to tell you is that interview experience is one thing that gives you this self actualization need, a kind of fulfillment. Okay. So, he says that you get this kick just when you climb something like the peak of a mountain, or when you go for a skydiving or scuba diving, you get a kick. Now, just like that, when you push yourself to this kind of situation and you make yourself perform the best, so then also you get this self actualization need fulfilled to some extent, and then you are growing from one level to another, which only interview can give. Now, once you realize, so actually I am not destined to earn money, earn fame, but then actually I am here to become what I should become in terms of my potential, and interview is helping me to do that. You will take that in the right perspective, and rejection or selection will not matter to you, because in rejection rather you gain so much rather than in selection. Keep that in mind. So, you do not have to worry even about rejection. And some quick afterthoughts: do not become discouraged. whenever you fail to get a job offer, you should assume that someone else had either better qualifications or had better interview skills, or in an Indian context even just luck or even just influence. To be unsuccessful in a job competition is not a sign of inadequacy. So, there are so many other factors which are working, and remember, most people, most successful people have gone through several interviews before they are offered a final position in which they had established themselves. However, each interview, each one moves you closer to your goal, a job offer. So, take each one seriously, each one with full potential, you try to give your performance, and there is something to be learned from each interview. And if you go with this learning motive, you understand that each interview itself is a learning experience. As one person says, we cannot become what we want to be by remaining what we are. We cannot become what we want to be by remaining what we are. So, if you really want to become what you want to be, you have to keep on revising what we are today. We have to improve on our own performance. We have to do something that we feel better about what we did today, but then we should feel better about what we are going to do tomorrow also, and we have to keep reviewing, revising. So, once you have that attitude, so you will be in the right frame of mind to do well in interviews, and then even if the interview is not going to be a successful or a one that is going to reject you, it is not going to affect you actually. The final thought, I would say, look before you leap. So many advertisement companies will very glamorously take you to a place which looks like heaven, but once you open the door, it is just hell. Once you open the door, you know that just hell is awaiting inside. Okay, there are creepers and snakes and other poisonous things and all painful things that are just awaiting. Now, heaven is promised in terms of pay package. Heaven is promised when you are the one who is offered as a young engineer, you are offered some 60 lakhs per annum. Now, nobody else in the world has been given this much. Now, you jump into it. Now, what they do in terms of that is they buy your time 24/7. You do not have time to even send SMS to your close relatives. So much work pressure. Okay. And then there are people you know who have selected this, but they die of heartbreak, they die of stress, and you within 5 years the amount that you have earned, remaining 55 years or so you spend in spending on your medical bill. Is that worth? So, ask that question. So, look before you leap. Even if you are given the best interview offers, you always can take a second opinion, you can always compare, you can take experienced people's opinion on that before you just jump just because of the money package. So, if or any other glamour that is associated with that, try to go beyond that. And there are some very quick further references. There is a book on 10-minute guide to job interviews. It gives quick tips, okay, some tips that you can keep in mind and recall. And there is also a book on winning at interviews. There is another book on handling tough job interviews. While winning at interviews will give you in nutshell some of the aspects of interview, handling tough job interviews will give you additional information about how you can go ahead in terms of stressful interviews, what kind of more aspects are expected from your potential traits, personality traits. Now, how to interview and be interviewed looks the interview itself from both perspectives, from the one who is to be interviewed and the one who is supposed to conduct the interview. So, both people need some skills. It is the responsibility of the interviewer to keep the interviewee at ease also. So, this book looks at from both sides, so that when you look at the other side, you also gain some confidence. And overall, I would like to conclude this module by giving you my best wishes, and I am sure that once you go through this, even any of the module which is particularly any of the lectures of this module that is dealing with this interview. Each module I have given lot of tips, but then I would say that if you are in a hurry, just take any module and listen to it, and then it is just trying to give you the overall tricks of the trade, the techniques which are required. And in the concluding module, this module, I try to conclude by saying that even if you are rejected, it is not a rejection to your personality, it is just admitting you to another level and making you learn from this. If you have this learning attitude, and if you understand that all is in the process of self actualization, it is in the process of growth and development, you are in the right frame of entering into the interview venue, and I am sure success will follow you. So, wishing you all the best, and thank you for attending to all these lectures patiently, and I hope you greatly benefit from these tips, and I am sure you will emerge successful in the coming interviews. Thank you once again.